Right now, as you are watching this video, there is something happening inside your phone that you did not authorize, did not agree to, and were never clearly told about. Not a virus, not a hacker. Something far more calculated, far more deliberate, and in many ways, far more disturbing, because it was placed there by the very people who sold you the phone. There are applications sitting inside your device right now whose sole purpose, whose only reason for existing, is to watch you, study you, profile you, and then flood your screen with advertisements. These are not apps you downloaded. These are not apps you chose. They were pre-installed, hidden deep inside your system settings, disguised under technical names that sound harmless, even important. And every single day you carry that phone in your pocket, those apps are running silently in the background, collecting data, building a profile, and making money off your attention without giving you a single rupee in return. Most people will never find these apps. Most people will never even know they exist. But today, that changes. Because in this video, we are going to find them, expose them, shut them down, and take back full control of your phone, your privacy, and your digital life completely and permanently. Your phone is not just a communication device anymore. It stopped being that a long time ago. What you're holding in your hand right now is one of the most sophisticated data collection machines ever built. And the uncomfortable truth is that most of the people and companies involved in making that machine profit enormously from the data it collects about you. Every app you open, every website you visit, every search you make, every product you look at, every conversation you have near your phone, all of it is being observed, categorized, stored, and monetized. The global digital advertising industry is worth over $600 billion as of 2024, and it is growing every single year. That number does not exist because advertisers got lucky. It exists because they built systems, deeply embedded, technically sophisticated, deliberately hidden systems that ensure your attention, your behavior, and your personal data are constantly being harvested and sold to the highest bidder. And your phone is the primary tool through which all of that harvesting happens. Think about that number for a moment, $600 billion. That is more than the GDP of most countries on this planet, and the fuel powering that entire economy is your personal data, your habits, your interests, your location, your conversations, your daily routine. Every piece of information about you has a price tag on it, and right now, without your knowledge and without your consent, that information is being extracted from your phone and sold. The companies doing this are not small operations working in the shadows. Some of the biggest names in the technology world, including phone manufacturers you trust and use every single day, are deeply embedded in this system. And the most alarming part is not that it is happening. The most alarming part is how they designed it to be invisible. Here is where it gets genuinely disturbing. When you buy a new phone, you assume you are getting a clean device, a tool that works for you, serves your needs, and operates under your control. But that assumption is wrong. Before that phone ever reaches your hands, before it is even taken out of the box, certain manufacturers have already installed applications on it that have nothing to do with making your phone work better. These applications exist for one reason and one reason only: to display advertising and to collect the behavioral data that makes that advertising more targeted and therefore more profitable. They are baked into the system at a level so deep that you cannot delete them through normal means. They are not in your app drawer. They do not show up in your regular app list. They are buried inside your system settings, hidden under authorization menus and technical subsections that the average user would never think to explore. This is not an accident. This is design. And today we are going to dismantle it completely. Let us start with one of the most overlooked but heavily abused entry points for advertising, your email inbox. If you use Gmail, and the overwhelming majority of smartphone users do, then you already know the frustration of opening your inbox and finding it buried under waves of promotional emails. Discount offers, subscription updates, newsletter signups you never agreed to, flash sale announcements from websites you visited once 6 months ago. It is relentless, it is exhausting, and most people have simply accepted it as a normal part of digital life. But it is not normal, and it is not something you have to accept. What most people do not realize is that every time you visit a website, any website, that website has the ability to quietly add your email address to its marketing list if you have ever signed in or made a purchase. You do not get a clear notification. You do not get a straightforward confirmation. It just happens in the background, buried inside a terms and conditions document that nobody reads, and suddenly you are receiving advertising emails from a company you barely remember interacting with. Google recognized this problem and quietly rolled out a feature inside the Gmail app that most users have never discovered. When you open Gmail and tap on the 3 horizontal lines in the upper left corner of the screen, you will see a list of sections and folders. If you scroll down carefully, you will find an option called Manage Subscriptions. This is the feature that changes everything. When you open Manage Subscriptions, Gmail presents you with a comprehensive list of every website and company that is currently sending you emails. Not just the ones in your inbox, all of them, including the ones you have been ignoring, deleting, or simply drowning in for months or years. Next to each entry in that list, you will see a small icon. Tap on that icon and you are given two choices. The first is to visit the website directly and unsubscribe through their own process, which can sometimes be complicated and occasionally does not work as advertised. The second option is far more powerful. You can simply select block, and Gmail will ensure that no future emails from that sender ever reach your inbox again. Go through that list carefully. Be thorough. Every website you block is one less source of advertising clutter polluting your digital space. This single step alone can dramatically transform your inbox from a chaotic advertising dump into a clean, functional communication tool. But email is just the beginning. Because the real story, the part that most tech channels will not explain clearly, goes much deeper than your inbox. Let us talk about the applications that were installed on your phone before you even turned it on for the first time. On Samsung devices, which represent a massive share of the global Android market with hundreds of millions of active users worldwide, there are two specific system applications that exist for the explicit purpose of serving and supporting advertising. The first is called MSA, which stands for Mobile Services Assistant. The second is called System Daemon. These names sound technical and important, like they might be doing something critical for your phone's operation. They are not. What they are actually doing is far less impressive and far more invasive. MSA is designed to display advertisements directly on your device, often appearing as pop-ups, notifications, or embedded content within Samsung's own applications. System Daemon works alongside it, functioning as a data collection tool that monitors your behavior on the device and sends that information back to build the advertising profile that makes those targeted ads possible. Together, these two applications form a quiet, persistent advertising engine running inside your phone that you never agreed to install and cannot remove through standard methods. The reason you cannot simply delete these applications is that they are classified as system applications, meaning they are embedded at a level of the operating system that is protected from regular user modification. Samsung, like other manufacturers who engage in this practice, has deliberately ensured that these applications cannot be uninstalled. They knew that if users could easily remove them, they would. So they made removal impossible and hoped that most users would never even discover these apps exist. But here's the critical insight. While you cannot delete them, you can disable them. And disabling them is entirely sufficient to stop them from functioning. Once disabled, these applications go completely dormant. They stop running in the background, stop collecting your data, stop displaying advertisements, and stop consuming your phone's resources. The effect is immediate and permanent as long as the applications remain disabled. To find these applications and shut them down, you need to navigate to your phone's main settings. From there, scroll down until you find a section related to biometrics, screen lock, or security. On Samsung devices, this is often labeled as fingerprints, face data, and screen lock, or something closely similar depending on your specific model and software version. Open that section. Once inside, scroll all the way to the bottom of the menu. You will find an option called Authorization. Tap on it. This is the hidden doorway that most users never open. Inside the authorization menu, you will see a list of applications that have been granted special system-level permissions. Look for MSA in that list. When you find it, tap on the toggle or switch next to it to turn it off. Your phone will display a warning message telling you that this application will become unusable. That warning is accurate, and it is exactly what you want. Tap Revoke to confirm. Then find System Daemon in the same list and repeat the exact same process. Turn it off, confirm by tapping Revoke. Both applications are now disabled, and the silent advertising engine that your manufacturer built into your device is effectively shut down. This is one of the most impactful privacy steps you can take on a Samsung device, and it takes less than 2 minutes to complete. Now let us move to the level of your internet connection itself, because here is something that most people fundamentally misunderstand about how digital advertising works. The advertisements you see on websites are not stored on those websites. They are loaded in real time from external advertising servers, massive computer systems operated by advertising networks whose entire business model depends on being able to reach your device and deliver their content. Every time you open a web page, your phone is making dozens of invisible background connections to these advertising servers, pulling in ad content, tracking pixels, analytics scripts, and data collection tools alongside the actual web page content you wanted to see. The web page you wanted might be one connection. The advertising infrastructure embedded in that page might be 30 connections. And all of those connections happen through your internet connection, which means they all have to pass through your DNS server, the system your phone uses to translate website names into the actual server addresses it needs to connect to. This is where one of the most powerful ad blocking techniques available becomes relevant. By changing the DNS server your phone uses to one that is specifically designed to block advertising domains, you can prevent your phone from even being able to connect to advertising servers in the first place. When your phone cannot connect to an advertising server, it cannot load the ad. It is that simple, and it is extraordinarily effective. The service that makes this possible at a high level of reliability is AdGuard DNS, a privacy-focused DNS service that maintains continuously updated lists of advertising domains, tracking domains, and malware domains, and blocks connections to all of them automatically. AdGuard DNS processes billions of DNS queries every day and has one of the most comprehensive and regularly maintained block lists available. Switching your phone to use AdGuard DNS is like installing a powerful ad filter at the network level that affects every application, every browser, and every connection your phone makes. To implement this, open your phone's main settings and navigate to Connections. From there, tap on Wi-Fi and find your current active Wi-Fi network. Tap the gear icon next to it to open the network settings. Inside those settings, look for an option called View More or Advanced. Open it. Find the field labeled IP settings and change it from DHCP to static. Once you switch to static, additional fields will appear below, including fields for DNS1 and DNS2. In the DNS1 field, enter 94.140.14.14. In the DNS2 field, enter 94.140.15.15. These are the primary and secondary IP addresses for AdGuard DNS. Tap Save to apply these settings. But do not stop there, because there is an additional layer of protection that makes this even more effective. Go back to the main Wi-Fi settings page and find more connection settings. Inside that menu, look for Private DNS, tap on it, and select the option for Private DNS Provider hostname. In the field that appears, type dnns.adguarddns.com and tap Save. This activates encrypted DNS over HTTPS, which means your DNS queries are not just being filtered, they are also being encrypted so that no third party can monitor or manipulate them. The combination of these two DNS settings creates a robust network-level advertising filter that works across your entire phone without requiring any additional apps. The results of this change are immediately visible and genuinely remarkable. Websites that previously loaded with multiple banner ads, sidebar advertisements, and pop-up overlays will suddenly appear clean and uncluttered. Pages will load faster because they are no longer spending time downloading advertising content. Your mobile data usage will decrease because a significant portion of that data was always being consumed by ad loading. And your battery life will improve because your phone is no longer constantly processing and rendering advertising content in the background. All of these improvements happen simultaneously, automatically, and persistently, because the filter is operating at the network level rather than inside any individual application. But even with DNS level filtering in place, there are still advertising mechanisms that operate through your web browser specifically, and these require their own targeted response. Most people who use Chrome on their Android phones have never opened the browser's site settings menu, and that is exactly where the problem hides. Inside Chrome, buried several layers deep in the settings, are controls that govern whether websites are permitted to show you intrusive advertisements, whether they can launch pop-up windows and perform automatic redirects, and whether they can send you notification alerts. The default state of some of these settings may be more permissive than you realize, effectively allowing a category of aggressive advertising behavior that you never consciously authorized. To address this, open Chrome and tap the three vertical dots in the upper right corner. Select Settings from the menu that appears, then scroll down to find Site Settings. Inside Site Settings, scroll down until you find Intrusive Ads. Open that option. If intrusive ads are currently enabled, change the setting to Block. This instructs Chrome to refuse to display advertisement formats that Google's own standards classify as disruptive or deceptive, including advertisements that cover page content, autoplay video ads with sound, and pop-up ads that interfere with navigation. Next, go back to Site Settings and find pop-ups and redirects. Make sure this is set to the blocked or not allowed state. This is critically important because pop-up advertising and automatic redirects to advertising pages are among the most disruptive forms of digital advertising, and many websites use them aggressively. Blocking them at the browser level eliminates them entirely. Finally, within Site Settings, find the Notification section. Open it. Here you will see a list of every website that currently has permission to send you notifications through Chrome. Review this list carefully. Any website that you do not recognize, any website that has been sending you advertising alerts in your notification panel, should have its notifications revoked immediately. Tap the three dots next to any offending website and select the option to disable or remove its notification permission. This matters more than most people appreciate, because website notification permissions are one of the most aggressively abused advertising channels in the current digital landscape. When you visited certain websites in the past, you may have clicked Allow on a notification permission prompt without fully understanding what you were agreeing to. What you agreed to, in many cases, was giving that website the ability to send promotional alerts directly to your phone's notification panel, bypassing your email bypassing your browser, and appearing right alongside your messages and system alerts. Some of these websites send multiple advertising notifications every single day. They appear while you are working, while you are resting, while you are in the middle of other tasks. They look like legitimate alerts until you look closely and realize they are advertisements for products, services, or content you have no interest in. Revoking these permissions through Chrome's site settings eliminates this completely. Now we come to perhaps the most philosophically unsettling part of this entire discussion, the question of whether your phone is actually listening to your conversations. This is a topic that generates enormous debate, with millions of people reporting experiences where they discussed a product or topic verbally and then immediately began seeing advertisements for exactly that thing on their phone. Technology companies universally deny that their applications are recording ambient audio for advertising purposes, and the technical reality is more nuanced than a simple yes or no answer. What is definitively true, however, is that your phone maintains an advertising identifier, a unique code assigned specifically to your device that tracks your behavior across applications and websites with extraordinary precision. This identifier collects data about what you search, what you click on, what apps you use, how long you spend on certain types of content, and builds a behavioral profile so detailed that the resulting advertisements can feel almost psychic in their accuracy. You do not need a microphone to achieve that level of targeting. The behavioral data alone is sufficient to make it seem like your phone is reading your mind. The good news is that you can take direct action against this tracking system through your phone's Google account settings. Navigate to your main settings and scroll down to find Google. Inside Google settings, select all services, then scroll to the section labeled Privacy and Security and open Ads. Inside this menu, you will find two critical options that together can fundamentally change the relationship between your phone and Google's advertising infrastructure. The first option is Reset Advertising ID. When you reset your advertising ID, all of the behavioral data that has been collected and associated with your device's current identifier is effectively severed. Google can no longer connect your past behavior to your device. The advertising profile that has been built up about you over potentially years of usage is disconnected. This does not permanently stop tracking. Your phone will be assigned a new advertising ID and tracking will resume, but it does give you a clean slate and is worth doing periodically. The second option, however, is far more decisive. Delete Advertising ID completely removes your phone's advertising identifier. Without an advertising ID, Google's cross-app tracking system cannot function on your device. Your phone can no longer be tracked across applications in the way that makes targeted advertising possible. Select Delete Advertising ID and confirm the action. The difference in the advertising experience after completing this step is substantial and immediately noticeable. But here is something that many tech guides leave out entirely, and it represents a significant gap in the privacy protection most people end up with. Deleting your Google Advertising ID only addresses Google's tracking infrastructure. Your phone manufacturer has built their own completely separate advertising and data collection system that operates independently of Google, and it requires independent action to disable. This manufacturer-level tracking is just as sophisticated and just as invasive as Google's system, but because it operates under the manufacturer's brand rather than Google's, many people who think they have addressed their phone's tracking problem have actually only addressed half of it. To find and disable the manufacturer's advertising system, go back to your main phone settings and navigate to Privacy and Security or Security and Privacy. The exact label varies by manufacturer and device. Inside that menu, scroll down to find an option called More Privacy Settings. Open it. Here you will find settings that are completely separate from Google's privacy controls, dealing specifically with how your phone manufacturer collects and uses your data. Look for a setting labeled something like Improve Personalized Ads based on data from this phone. Open that setting. Inside, you will typically find multiple sub-options, including settings for receiving promotional offers and news from the manufacturer, settings for improving advertising personalization, and settings for data sharing with the manufacturer's advertising partners. Turn all of these off completely. Every toggle, every switch, every option that allows your phone manufacturer to collect behavioral data from your device for advertising purposes should be disabled. Find the option labeled then Get News and Special Offers, and turn it off, then tap Stop to confirm. Find Improve Personalized Advertising and turn it off as well. These settings are almost never highlighted during phone setup. They are buried deliberately in menus that require specific knowledge to find, because the manufacturer profits from collecting that data and has no financial incentive to make it easy for you to stop the collection. When you complete all of the steps outlined in this video, disabling manufacturer ad apps, changing your DNS settings, adjusting browser permissions, deleting your advertising ID, and disabling manufacturer-level tracking, you are not just blocking some advertisements. You are fundamentally restructuring the relationship between your phone and the advertising ecosystem that has been quietly extracting value from your data since the moment you first turned the device on. The cumulative impact of these changes is significant. Users who implement all of these steps consistently report dramatic reductions in the volume of advertising they encounter across all contexts: browsing, notifications, email, and in-app. They report faster device performance because background advertising processes are no longer consuming processor cycles and memory. They report meaningfully longer battery life because the phone is not constantly running advertising infrastructure in the background. They report faster page loading speeds because websites no longer have to download extensive advertising content before displaying their actual material. And perhaps most importantly, they report a qualitatively different experience of using their phone, one where the device feels like it is working for them rather than working against them. The deeper issue that all of this reveals is one worth sitting with for a moment. The technology we use every day, the devices we carry everywhere, sleep next to, rely on for our most personal communications and our most sensitive information, has been engineered in ways that frequently prioritize the financial interests of manufacturers and advertising networks over the interests and privacy of the people actually using them. This is not conspiracy thinking. This is documented, demonstrable, measurable reality. The hidden apps are real. The tracking systems are real. The behavioral profiling is real. The data collection is real. And the fact that most of this happens without users' meaningful awareness or informed consent is a genuine ethical problem that the technology industry has been slow to address and slower still to self-correct on. Taking control of your phone's advertising settings is not a paranoid overreaction. It is a rational, measured response to a well-documented privacy problem. It is the act of asserting that the device you purchased and own should operate in your interests, rather than in the interests of third parties who never gave you anything of value. Every step in this video is something you can do right now, today, without any technical expertise, without any additional applications, and without spending any money. The tools to protect yourself are already inside your phone. They have just been deliberately hidden from you. What you choose to do with this knowledge is, of course, entirely up to you. Some people will watch this video and implement every single step immediately. Others will implement some steps and leave others for later. And some will watch and feel the weight of realizing how much has been happening in the background of their digital lives without their awareness, and that feeling, at the moment of genuine recognition, is itself valuable. Because an informed user is a fundamentally different kind of user than an unaware one. An informed user makes choices. An unaware user simply gets used. The advertising industry spent billions of dollars and decades of engineering effort building the systems that this video teaches you to dismantle. They made those systems invisible because visibility invites resistance. They buried the opt-out controls because easy opt-outs mean lost revenue. They installed apps you did not ask for because they knew you would never find them if they hid them well enough. But they underestimated something: the fact that once people know where to look, once the hidden becomes visible and the complicated becomes simple, the calculation changes entirely. Today, you know where to look. Today, the hidden is visible. And today, if you follow through on these steps, your phone becomes something different from what it was when you woke up this morning. It becomes yours again. Actually, genuinely, completely yours. And that is worth far more than any advertisement they were planning to show you.